Edu, 38, a lawyer with the eyes of someone who's seen the best and worst of people, walks into his home carrying a modest birthday cake he bought himself. His wife, Julia, is on the phone, laughing. She doesn't notice him. He doesn't complain. On the table, 2 plates. He sets down the cake, lights the candles, straightens the silverware. Julia comes out of the bedroom in a red dress he's never seen. She's stunning. Too stunning for a quiet dinner for 2. "Where are you going dressed like that?" he asks, half laughing. She replies, "Babe, there's a surprise tonight." He smiles. Maybe she did plan something. That would be nice. He wasn't expecting it, but he deserved it. She leads him to a restaurant, upscale, private. Friends, co-workers, even a few people he doesn't recognize are there. A waiter brings out champagne. Everyone raises a glass. Julia stands, tapping her glass. The metallic sound slices through the room, silencing it. "Edu, you're an amazing person, but tonight, I have to be honest." He swallows hard. She smiles at someone in the back. A man stands up, well-groomed, nervous expression, holding a ring. The room freezes. Edu's legs feel numb. The man kneels in front of Julia. "Will you marry me?" The ceiling lights feel like they're exploding. Edu is still seated. No one looks at him. He's the husband. He's invisible. He stands, says nothing. He just leaves. Outside, the rain finally comes down hard. He tosses the birthday cake into the first trash can he finds. The silence that followed wasn't just a lack of sound. It was an absence of self. Edu walked through the streets like his body was a coat draped over someone who had already left. The rain, now light, clung to his shirt collar, to his hair, to his eyes. He didn't pull his phone from his pocket, didn't answer messages, didn't look for shelter. He reached his car but didn't get in. He sat on the curb. His soaked blazer clung to his shoulders like a stubborn memory. He wiped his face, unsure if it was rain or tears. A few meters away, a couple laughed beneath an awning. The woman embraced the man with tenderness. She held a gift. He offered her his jacket. As if the world still allowed that kind of thing. Edu let out a laugh. Short, almost a spasm. He thought about the cake he bought himself. Chocolate, just like he liked since he was a kid. With a small plaque, "Happy birthday, love," now lying in some trash can. In his pants pocket, the letter he never gave. Handwritten. "Julia, thank you for still being here after so many silences. Even if I sometimes fail to show it, everything in me loves you." He read it again, right there, with trembling hands. Then crumpled it, then uncrumpled, and read it again. Suddenly his phone vibrated. "Julia, you disappeared, left without saying anything. Can we talk?" He stared at the screen, motionless. What was there to say? She knew. She looked into his eyes while the other man got down on one knee. She knew. And even so, Edu stood. This time he got into the car, but he didn't drive home, nor to work. He drove to his brother's apartment, Vinicius. Vinicius opened the door without asking anything. One of those rare humans who knows how to listen even to silence. Edu walked in, dropped his keys on the counter, and collapsed on the couch. "She proposed to him. In front of everyone," he said, voice cracked. "She betrayed you in front of everyone," Vinicius corrected, firm. "And I just sat there, watching, like it was normal." His brother sat beside him. "She didn't kill you, Edu, but what she did was bury you alive." And for the first time in years, Edu cried. Cried like a child. No pride, no restraint. Because for once, he felt, he didn't have to hold it all in. He just needed to survive that night. The world didn't stop. That's what hurt the most. The sun rose as always, slipping through the blinds in the guest room of his brother's apartment. Edu had been awake long before the light. He couldn't sleep, didn't want to. The sheet stuck to his sweaty back. The pillow smelled unfamiliar, and the sounds of the world, horns, footsteps, barking, seemed to mock his pain. As if the city whispered, "This is nothing." He got up slowly, body aching, throat dry, heart throbbing like a fresh wound. In the kitchen, Vinicius was making coffee. No small talk, just presence. "She sent more messages?" he asked, stirring sugar into his cup. Edu nodded, showed the phone. "I didn't want it to end like this. You just left, I wanted to explain. We should have talked first. I got lost." He read them aloud, monotone. Vinicius just looked at him. "She got lost before she betrayed you, Edu. Now she's just trying to save her image." Edu sat down, took the cup, hands trembling. "I wasn't enough, Vinny. I wasn't light. I wasn't present. She used to say I didn't smile anymore." "And you think that justifies what she did?" Silence. Maybe not, Edu answered quietly. But maybe I wore her out. Vinicius leaned in, sat across from him, firm. You might have made mistakes. We all do. But loyalty isn't a reward for good behavior. It's a choice. She chose to expose you. She chose to humiliate you. That's on her, not you. The words entered like a slow drip, bitter, necessary. Edu took a deep breath. For the first time since the night before, he wasn't trying to understand, just accept. He walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower. The hot water hit his body like a hug he didn't know he needed. He dried off slowly, put on a clean shirt from his brother's closet. Unshaven, tired face, but whole. He looked in the mirror. He was still there. The man who loved quietly, who carried the weight of the world in silence, who picked up his own broken pieces without a sound. He still existed. And now, he was starting to remember. He also deserved to be loved back. The next day, Edu didn't go to work. He canceled his hearings, asked his law partner to cover for him. The voice on the other end sounded strange, like he already knew something. Rumors travel fast when someone gets humiliated in public, but Edu didn't have the energy to care. He grabbed an old notebook, hardcover, yellowed pages, sat on his brother's couch, pulled out a blue pen, and wrote a single sentence at the top of the page. I didn't deserve that. He stared at it for minutes, as if it were hard to believe. But it was true. He didn't deserve to be betrayed in front of an audience. Didn't deserve mockery disguised as honesty. Didn't deserve to be left on his own birthday, with a stranger offering a ring to the woman still wearing his. He left the notebook on the coffee table, and then he did something even he didn't expect. He opened WhatsApp, found Julia's contact, typed slowly, "Can we talk in person?" Vinicius next to him frowned. "You sure about that?" Edu didn't answer. He hit send and dropped the phone like someone tossing a stone into a lake. The sound needed to break the surface. Minutes later, she replied, "Yes, tonight, at my place?" Edu typed, "No, somewhere neutral." "Okay, just send me the address." He picked a cafe near the park where they used to go on walks during the first months of dating. Ironic, but necessary. He needed to see her face. Needed to look into the eyes of the woman he once dreamed of growing old with, and say goodbye for real. That night, he dressed better than he had in months. Light shirt, clean-shaven, a soft cologne. Not to impress, but to remind himself he was still whole. He arrived 15 minutes early, ordered a black coffee, watched the street through the cafe window as cars passed and the world moved on. And then she arrived. Simple dress, hair tied back, eyes of someone who hadn't slept. Julia paused at the door, saw him, hesitated, and walked in. Edu didn't get up. He just looked at her, serious. "Edu, hey!" He raised a hand, a gentle gesture. "Don't start with an apology. Sit, listen, that's all." And she sat. The table felt too small for so many unspoken truths. But he knew, this time he would say everything. She sat down slowly. Her eyes searched for something in him. A flicker of tenderness, a sign of weakness. But Edu's face was a calm wall. The coffee between them had gone cold. Neither of them touched it. "Do you hate me?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, I just stopped lying to myself." She swallowed hard. "I swear I didn't plan it like that. Not that way." He was the one who... "Julia," his voice cut through softly but firmly. "You looked at me while he got down on one knee. You knew. And still, you let it happen." She lowered her eyes. "I was confused. I felt alone. I felt alone too, but I didn't walk away. I stayed. Even when I was empty. Even when I was tired. I stayed." She wiped her eyes. Her makeup was beginning to melt. "I know I was cruel. I regret it. I can't sleep." "Do you know the difference between you and me?" Edu said, placing his hands on the table. "You act to ease your own guilt. I endured so I wouldn't hurt you." She was crying now, quietly. He didn't offer comfort. "You want to come back?" he asked bluntly. She hesitated, then nodded softly. "Yes, I want to fix this. I love you, Edu." He took a deep breath. Long, like someone holding pain one last time before letting it go. "I loved you too, Julia. For a long time. But today, not anymore." Her eyes widened. "You're saying it's too late?" He nodded. "Too late. What you destroyed was my last bit of faith. The faith that someone would stay, even when love went quiet." She brought her hands to her face. Her body folded over the table, like the ground had vanished beneath her. Edu looked out the window. The sky was growing dark. City lights lit up one by one. "I don't wish you harm, truly. But I won't accept crumbs disguised as redemption anymore. He stood up. She didn't stop him. She knew this time wasn't a bluff. It was goodbye. Edu walked out of the cafe without looking back, and even though his chest still ached, something new had taken root inside him. Something that felt a lot like peace. The cafe door was behind him now, but the weight wasn't. Edu walked slowly down the street, feeling both light and exhausted. Like someone freed from captivity, but still unsure where the exit was. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It was her, no doubt, or someone connected to her. It didn't matter anymore. He stopped in front of a newsstand. A poster read, "Sign up for the 5K, run for yourself." He found it funny. For yourself. How long had it been since he'd done anything for himself? He bought a bottle of water, sat on a bench in the park, watched a little boy playing with his father. They laughed loudly, got messy. The boy dropped his ice cream, and the father didn't get mad. Just bought another one. Edu smiled, a small one, barely there. Sitting on that random bench, he started to remember the man he was before Julia, the one who dreamed wide awake on the bus, the one who hiked on Sundays, the one afraid to love, but who loved anyway, the one who wanted to be a father, but not with just anyone, with someone who'd stay. He took out his phone. This time, it wasn't Julia. It was an old, nearly forgotten contact. Helena, therapist. He stared at the name for long seconds. He'd started therapy years ago when his father died, had quit in the 3rd month. The pain was too much, or maybe he just didn't want to dig that deep. Now the pain was different, and maybe it was time to start digging. He called, voicemail. He texted, "Hi, this is Edu. Any chance you still have an opening for me?" He put the phone away. Night was falling for real now, but he didn't feel afraid. The pain was still there, no denying it. But something else had arrived. Will, to not repeat, to not settle, to never love someone who would leave him on his own birthday. Edu got up from the bench, took a deep breath. It began there, with small, almost invisible steps, but now each one moved in the right direction. Back home. 2 weeks passed. Julia didn't message again, didn't show up. Maybe out of shame, maybe out of a late-blooming respect, maybe because she knew he wouldn't come back. Edu slowly resumed his routine. Work was still tiring, the world still felt strange, but a thread of order was quietly reweaving itself inside him. In therapy, he didn't cry, but he talked. Something he hadn't done in years. He talked about his father, his childhood, that feeling of always carrying others on his back and never being carried. He talked about how he mistook silence for maturity and absence for stability. He talked about Julia, yes, but not as a victim, as a man who finally understood where it hurt and where he allowed it to. On a random Saturday, he decided to run. He remembered the poster about the 5K race, still time to register. He went alone, told no one, didn't go to prove anything. Put on his sneakers, adjusted his earbuds, and ran. The first few meters were tough. His body complained, his chest ached, but something inside him smiled. Because for the first time in a long time, he was moving by choice, not by survival. When he crossed the finish line, no one was waiting. No applause, no photo, no Julia. But he smiled, because it was just him, with himself, and that was enough. That night, lying on the couch, he opened the old notebook again. The one with the first sentence. "I didn't deserve that." On the next page, he wrote, "But I do deserve everything that comes after." He closed the notebook gently, like sealing a chapter. His phone buzzed. This time, it was Vinicius. "Want to grab some wine? Just us." Edu replied, "Let's go." He smiled. Not because everything was fine, but because now he knew, not all pain becomes trauma. Some of it becomes a road. And he was ready to walk it. The bookstore was small, tucked between a bakery and an optical shop downtown. Edu walked in without thinking. He had just been wandering aimlessly after lunch when he saw the crooked sign in the window. Books don't change the world, people do. And books change people. He smiled, walked in. The smell of old paper, wood, and stale coffee hit him like a warm hug. He'd forgotten how much he loved that smell. He wandered slowly through the narrow aisles, brushing his fingers across the books like touching memories. In the poetry section, a title caught his eye, "Things No One Sees." He picked it up, opened to a random page. Sometimes absence teaches more than presence. Sometimes love is walking away before losing yourself completely. He closed the book, held his breath. "That one's intense, huh?" The voice came gently from behind him. Edu turned. A woman with short hair, golden-toned skin, and curious eyes stood there. She wore a blouse with tiny floral prints and a scarf around her neck. She had the air of someone who notices small things. "Yeah, intense and unsettling," he replied, still holding the book. "That author's my favorite. He always writes like he lives inside you." "Yeah, I felt that." She extended her hand. "I'm Luna. I work here sometimes." He shook it, surprised by the soft strength in her grip. "Edu." She smiled. "Sounds like a history teacher, or a character from a messy romance novel." He laughed, genuinely. It had been a while. They talked for a few more minutes. About books, the city, the terrible coffee at the shop. Luna had a light way of speaking, but her eyes always seemed to listen more than they said. Edu bought the book. At the register, she slipped a handmade bookmark inside with a tiny handwritten note. "For someone who knows words can save." He read it right there, then looked at her. Didn't say anything, but his smile said, "Thank you for seeing me." He left the bookstore with the book under his arm. The sky was clear, no wind, no weight. It wasn't love. Not yet, but it was a beautiful beginning. Edu went back to the bookstore the following week. This time it was intentional, not by chance. Luna was there, arranging books on a wooden ladder. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, wearing an oversized sweatshirt with a cup of coffee by her side. She looked so much a part of the place that he almost didn't want to disturb her. But she looked up, smiled. "You came back. Did the book save you?" "Not yet, but it held me together." She climbed down slowly, wiped her hands on her sweatshirt, and sat on the bench between the shelves. "Want some bad coffee?" He laughed. "Yes." They sat together, talked about parts of the book, her childhood in a small town that smelled like wet soil, the days when he almost gave up on himself, without telling everything, but enough. Luna didn't ask what he wasn't ready to say, and that was rare. The next week, they saw each other again, unplanned. Then they started planning. A coffee, an indie film, a day at the park. There was no rush, no expectation. Luna didn't try to fix anything, and that was the most healing part. She laughed at the little things, touched his arm gently when saying something that mattered, had a way of observing that made Edu feel considered. It was as if, for the first time, he could just exist without having to prove anything. One night, after dropping her off at home, they stood by the gate. She turned, adjusted her scarf, and said, "I'm not in a hurry, okay? If you just want friendship, that's fine." Edu took a deep breath. "I don't know what I want yet, but I like seeing you." She smiled, a smile full of "it's okay." "Then come see me, whenever you want." And she went inside. Edu stood there for a few seconds, looking at the closed gate. He didn't feel anxious or afraid. It was strange and good, because for the first time he realized it was possible to begin again without losing yourself. Summer arrived gently that year. Edu no longer counted the days like before. He didn't wait for messages that would never come, didn't replay old conversations in his mind. He lived, worked less, slept better, read more. Therapy continued. Some sessions hurt like surgery without anesthesia. Others felt like simple talks about rain and childhood. But all of them, in their own way, rebuilt something. Julia reappeared one morning with a short message. "I dreamed about you. I hope you're well." He replied kindly. "I am. I hope you are too." And that was it. Not because it still hurt, but because it didn't hurt anymore. Luna, on the other hand, stayed. No rush, no grand plans. One day she brought bread. Another, a blanket for the couch. Later, she started accidentally leaving books at his place. Edu noticed he no longer timed the space between her message and his reply. He didn't have to test her presence. She was there. Just like that. One Sunday morning, they were walking through the park. The same one where he had marked the end with Julia. Luna stopped at a kiosk and bought 2 popsicles. Handed one to him. "Did you know the human brain links flavors to memories?" "Really?" "Yup. So I picked passion fruit. Who knows? Maybe years from now you'll taste this and remember me." Edu laughed, biting into the popsicle. "I think I'll remember you for other things." "Like what?" He looked at her, stepped closer, touched her face gently, as if not to scare her. "For being the place where I came back to myself." She said nothing, just held his hand. Long, calm, steady. They walked in silence, and in that silence there was no more absence, no more pain, no more fear. There was space to move on, to feel, to begin again. And deep in his chest, with all the calm in the world, he knew some endings aren't punishment, they're permission. Have you ever lived through an ending that deep down was really your new beginning? Leave a comment with, "I have," if this story touched you, or tag someone who needs to remember that some endings free us more than they hold us back. If this scene held your attention until the end, imagine what's coming next. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There are many real stories disguised as fiction waiting for you.